Hi, I'm the host of Education Beat, Zadie Stavely. This week, Education Beat turns 5 years old. We published our first episode on August 5th, 2021. To celebrate, we're bringing you a back-to-school episode from last year on a story that recently won an award from the California News Publishers Association about the realities of the rollout of transitional kindergarten. It's called Play and Potty Training. On the first day of school this year, one of Elyse Doerflinger's TK students needed help in the bathroom.
Nothing like the first day of school and having a little boy in the bathroom yelling, "Can you come wipe my butt?" at the top of his lungs. And having to talk him through that, through the stall door on the first day of school.
This is the kind of thing that Elyse, who teaches at Francis J. White Learning Center in Woodlake Unified in Tulare County, never used to experience when she was a first grade teacher. And it's not something most elementary school teachers are used to. But California has now expanded elementary school to a whole new grade of students, 4-year-olds. And that means schools need smaller toilets, smaller sinks, smaller play structures, and a whole new understanding of the importance of play in the classroom. But Elyse says she's not seeing a lot of those changes at her school.
We have kids who can't reach the urinals or can't reach the water fountains on the playground. I don't think we're really prepared for that. And even these tiny children getting served breakfast or lunch and they get like an orange or a clementine and they don't have the skills to peel it yet. There's so many departments that kind of need to catch up and they haven't yet.
This is Education Beat, getting to the heart of California schools. I'm Zadie Stavely. This week, TK brings play and potty training into elementary school. When TK first started in 2012, it was only for students who had just missed the cutoff for kindergarten and had their 5th birthday in the fall. But in 2022, California began expanding it to younger 4-year-olds. And this year, all children who will turn 4 by September 1st are eligible to enroll. It's essentially California's way of offering universal preschool. High-quality education for 4-year-olds incorporates lots of play. Think Play-Doh, finger paints, make-believe, and dress up. And yes, some 4-year-olds need help going to the bathroom and wiping afterward. But teachers and principals are not always educated about these aspects of early education. Elyse Doerflinger says TK classrooms are often not set up to provide a high-quality early education.
It's like you take a class and you learn all about what a preschool classroom should look like. And then you walk into your elementary classroom and you're like, this does not match. And I can't necessarily make it match because we either don't have the staffing, don't have the ratio. It's like we're part of the preschool world, but not.
Part of the problem is with the facilities themselves. TK classrooms are supposed to be more spacious than most elementary classrooms, with lots of room to explore and play.
Our classrooms are pretty small, so it makes it really hard to set up the centers the way that an early ed classroom should have them set up. In fact, one of our TK classrooms does not have a sink, which is huge because they need to wash their hands about a bazillion times a day, you know?
My colleagues Karen D'Souza, LaSherica Thornton, and I reported on some of the biggest challenges facing schools with the rollout of TK for all 4-year-olds. I asked LaSherica to talk with me about what we found. Hi, LaSherica.
Hey, Zadie.
Let's start with the good news.
I think because there have been several years of this rolling out, they've learned from their mistakes. It does seem like more and more schools are ready to meet the challenge of staffing. All the TK classes that I go in seem to really have this play-based learning thing down. So those are all, I would say, good things that I'm not only seeing, but that I'm also hearing on a broad scale.
California has been increasing enrollment each year as they expand the number of 4-year-olds. LaSherica, I know the California Department of Education has been touting the enrollment increase, kind of saying it's going great, but we do know that the enrollment is far less than what was projected, right?
Yeah. And, there are probably going to be people who maybe speculate, or there may even be some research as to why that is the case. Something that I heard from a couple of experts is just that every year there needs to be this re-emphasis. There needs to be this as if this was the first year of TK, because when that doesn't happen, you're going to lose parents. Like one expert kind of looked at it as every year we have a new set of parents that we need to be out educating and talking to. I think that's the approach that I guess everybody needs to be taking. And I say everybody because it's not just districts that need to be out and talking about TK, but it's media, it's pediatricians, it's teachers, it's parents talking with each other.
Yeah, actually one TK teacher in Oakland told me that she always gets new kids signing up for TK in the spring because their parents know that, it's time to enroll for kindergarten for the following fall. And then they find out, oh, actually my kid is eligible now for TK. And what are some of the other big challenges that TK teachers and principals shared with you?
A couple of things that were mentioned to me is the need for the administrators, for the principals to have some type of understanding of what early childhood education looks like. Because if the administrators and principals do not have that understanding, they're not going to be able to honestly properly support the TK classrooms. They're not going to understand, when they walk by a classroom, why these kids are playing with dolls or why these kids are, doing these types of things.
Elyse Doerflinger says the administrators at her school haven't been trained in early education. And when they were teachers, they taught in upper elementary school, which is very different from TK.
I've had administrators that are like, why are you not doing sight words? And it's like, because that's not what it's supposed to be.
She says her administrators were so used to tests given in higher grades that they had a hard time understanding the purpose of an assessment used in preschool called the Desired Results Developmental Profile, or DRDP. It's not a test that a child can pass or fail. It's just to see where they are developmentally.
Admin was like, well, where do they have to be? And I was like, oh, no, it's developmental. It's like we're rating, not that like they're behind in each area. They're just, as long as they're growing. And they kind of looked at us like we grew two heads. I mean, that is just not an elementary mindset, like it's a different world.
California now requires TK teachers to have both a teaching credential and early childhood education experience. That can come in several forms: 24 units in early childhood education or child development, a child development teacher permit, or other experience with young children that the school district determines to be equivalent. But it can be a challenge to find teachers who have both. Teachers who have a credential to teach elementary school often don't have the experience or training to teach younger kids. And preschool teachers who have the experience in early childhood classes often don't have the teaching credential. One teacher I spoke with, Zulia Nunez, was a preschool teacher for several years in San Diego County, and then she switched to work in a TK classroom. Because she didn't have a credential, she was co-teaching with credentialed teachers who didn't necessarily have the experience with 4-year-olds. And she said basically her co-teachers were often expecting the kids to do things that they weren't ready to do developmentally. For example, they wanted them to write in lowercase letters, but Zulia said their little hands sometimes aren't even ready to grasp a pencil. So in preschool, you often start with lines, uppercase letters. Maybe the biggest issue that TK teachers bring up is potty training. Sherika, I know you focused on potty training in your reporting. Can you share a little bit about what you found?
I'll be frank, like coming into this, I did not know a lot about like the potty challenge. I did not realize how deep this got. You have younger 4-year-olds coming in. You have them coming from different environments. So, of course, some kids came from private programs or for programs that said you had to be potty trained. So they're good, right? However, all of these younger 4-year-olds did not come from that environment. Some are coming from home. Some are just, taking longer. So you're going to have younger 4-year-olds who are not potty trained. You have the California Department of Education who's put out guidance on toileting. But when you get down to the school level, it's going to differ by districts. And then even in districts, it may differ by each school.
Part of the problem is with facilities themselves, right? TK classrooms are supposed to actually have a bathroom connected to the classroom, and it's supposed to be with a small toilet. But what I'm hearing, and I know you heard from teachers, is that that's not always the case, right?
Right. You have some classrooms do have the bathroom attached, but others do not. So when you have a bathroom in a TK classroom, students don't have a set schedule. They can kind of choose, like, give a signal to their teacher, like, I got to go to the bathroom, and they go. However, when you don't have that bathroom in there, you kind of have to put all your students on like a schedule so that most of the classes go into the bathroom at the same time. And that can create problems when maybe a student is not potty trained, or maybe a student gets undressed all the way when they go to the bathroom and don't know how to put their clothes back on.
Elyse says young 4-year-olds are much more likely not to be ready to go to the bathroom alone. Some of the TK classrooms in her school are far away from the bathrooms, so an aide has to take the kids. And once the kids get to the bathroom, it's not built for their size.
Like the boys' bathroom, our boys can't reach the urinal this year. Most of them cannot. That's like a huge struggle. So then they're waiting for like the 2 toilets that are in there. And then the paper towel dispensers are too high and the soap dispensers are too high. That's been a big issue. And you have long lines of kids that we've been experiencing trying to get them in before they have an accident, because even if they are potty trained, a lot of these kiddos need to go really quickly when they need to go.
So, LaSherika, something that came up for me is I know from my own children's experience that a lot of preschool teachers are trained in how to deal with kids who are not potty trained, and also just how to potty train kids. And there's all this education around not traumatizing kids or making them feel ashamed if they have an accident, because once there's shame involved, kids have an even harder time learning to use the toilet. And it doesn't seem like that education is really happening for elementary school teachers, right?
Right, correct. For elementary teachers, which in this case includes TK teachers, that's kind of not happening, because for the most part in the public school system, they're expecting these students to come in potty trained. A lot of districts are taking like the hands-off approach and saying, don't go in there, talk them through it, talk them through what to do through the door, which again is hard to do when you don't have a bathroom in the TK classroom. Don't touch, call the parent, have the parent come and do it.
Right. And this is because schools normally have rules about adults not going into children's bathrooms and not touching the kids.
That's what a lot of districts are doing. And again, I get it, right? Like maybe they do that because they don't want to face lawsuits. You know, maybe there just are not a whole lot of districts that are saying we're going to train you in the way that a preschool teacher has been trained and teach you how to toilet train kids. There's also going to have to, I think, be a shift, because when they had older 4-year-olds coming in, if ever there was 1 or 2 student who was not potty trained, they automatically assumed, oh, this student needs an individualized education plan for special education services or like an aide. Now, they can't really make that assumption if you have more kids coming in that are not potty trained.
Elyse says she and her colleagues have not received a lot of guidance about potty training.
I think our administrators are kind of assuming that any child that is not potty trained must have some form of disability. And if not, the attitude from the district that I get is kind of like, parents need to potty train then. And that's that. They're like, well, warn parents, we don't help with wiping. Warn parents, we don't do this. Make sure they have a change of clothes. And then if there's an accident that is too severe, like if it's a bowel movement and needs a lot of cleanup, they're going to be sent home. Like a parent's going to be called to either come clean them up or take them home.
But sending kids home if they have an accident can cause a series of other problems.
They lose learning time. In the past, we've actually had a TK student who would intentionally have a bowel movement in his pants so he can go home. And it meant that his mom couldn't keep a job, because you can't hold down a job if you're constantly being called back to the school to go get your kid.
For Elyse, the best potty training learning opportunity came from watching how a special education teacher at her school has gone above and beyond to teach her students.
We have the best special ed teacher ever on our campus. And she will be outside the bathroom door while a student is getting changed. And she will talk them through it. She'll put men's boxers over her own clothes to demonstrate how to pull your pants down and how you gotta how much toilet paper you gotta get. I mean, you gotta really do all that with potty training. Like, it's down and dirty. It's what it is. And I think so many people are worried and afraid and embarrassed to go there. But you have to, because that's what they need. They need the visual.
But Elyse says even if her district allowed her to, she feels conflicted about helping kids with the bathroom.
But at the same time, I also recognize that I maybe should know how, even if that's not my primary job duty. I would prefer that there's an aide or someone like that to do it. But I mean, I talk to my preschool teacher friends and they're like, girl, we do it.
LaSherica, it seems to me that some teachers are really resistant to the idea that they should be helping kids wipe or learn how to use the toilet.
I encountered teachers who said it's not my job to wipe because it's not in her job description. You also had a teacher like, it's not my job, but I don't want to see a child, sit in soiled clothes in their own urine until a parent comes if they can't figure it out themselves. Because again, these are possibly 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds who are having a hard time buckling their own clothes. So I've literally spoke to teachers at each step of the spectrum on this. What's come up across school districts is, whose job is this? If the district adopts a policy or adopts guidance for wiping or toilet training or just even assisting them with their clothes, whose job is it? Is it the teacher? Is it the instructional aide? Is it the paraprofessional?
Right. And then it also then becomes an item that has to be bargained with teachers' unions and staff unions, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why you get the educators in the room to figure out, what are you willing to do? What are you not willing to do? It can be figured out. There is an example that I do want to give, like it's from a small school district. They kind of said, we just don't want to not help these kids if they're not able to do it themselves. And so like last school year, they did like opt-out forms saying, hey, if you don't want us to help your child with this, like opt out. And so literally you have both the teachers and the aides helping with wiping. You have them helping with if there's an accident. Like the teachers themselves decided and say, we wanted to be able to help. So it's not something that can't be done. Teachers, aides, staff, they all simply want guidance from their school district to know, what do we do in these situations? Because these situations are going to happen, whether it's an accident, whether it's because the child is not fully potty trained or because they're not potty trained at all.
Yeah. Let's take a minute to talk about facilities. Is there, funding available for school districts to build new TK classrooms or playgrounds or bathrooms?
The facilities funding that was supposed to be for TK was actually cut in 2024, actually. And the funding that had kind of been set aside for it, it's run out. And so obviously that leaves districts, that leaves schools to be expanding this program without the proper facilities to really do it.
Right. And districts can apply for overall facilities funding, but there's a limited amount of that money. And there's a long line of school districts waiting for funding for all different kinds of renovations or building new buildings, not just TK.
Yep.
Thank you, LaSherica.
Thank you, Zadie.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode of Education Beat, getting to the heart of California schools, a production of EdSource. You can find a link to our TK stories in our podcast notes and at edsource.org. Our producer is Kobe McDonald. Special thanks to our guests, Elyse Doerflinger and reporter LaSherica Thornton. Also to Karen D'Souza, who also contributed to our TK series. Thanks also to editor-at-large John Fensterwald. Our theme music is from Blue Dot Sessions. This episode was brought to you by the Heising Simons Foundation. I'm Zadie Stavely. Join us next week and subscribe so you won't miss an episode.